Alright, it is finally time for me to discuss with you my thoughts after viewing Amityville Dollhouse, which the trailer and the poster both make it look freaking awful. And I just thought, quite honestly, I thought it was going to be terrible. Everything about it, especially coming off the horrendous seventh part, made it look god awful. I must say, I was actually very pleasantly surprised. It revitalized me. It revived me. It was so exciting, actually. There's some genuinely creepy stuff in that movie, to the point that I actually was uncomfortable. Which, for this type of movie, means it's very effective. Oh my goodness. What an effective movie. It is not a perfect movie by any stretch of the word, but in terms of it being the 8th Amityville horror picture, in terms of it being the 4th direct-to-video feature, and it being so different from the previous two, a lot of that plays to the film's advantage. I think, quite honestly, it took a little while for me to get into the movie, but to me, by far the creepiest thing, there's several creepy moments, and almost all of the creepy moments really, really work, but the moment that really deeply disturbed me was this dollhouse is supposed to resemble the evil Amityville house, which we haven't been to, like, legitimately inside that house since the 4th film. Because the 5th film, it was supposedly that house, but it was a completely different house. The 6th film and the 7th, they're not really in the house at all, and they're barely in the house in the 4th film. So we're not in it at all, but this dollhouse resembles it, and the evil from that dollhouse is trying to, well, not from the dollhouse, but just the evil from the house is trying to permeate its way in. But the dollhouse also, in a way, resembles the house that has been built. Because this guy, it's a new family. He married someone who already had a son. He had a son and daughter. They're trying to make this family work, and they just run into a lot of opposition. I think but okay, back to the creepiest thing. The creepiest thing in the movie is when this little rat, which, or mouse, I can't remember honestly, this rat or mouse is running around and it runs into the dollhouse, and the little girl tries to grab it out, but the rat runs under the bed in the dollhouse, and then this ginormous, what looks like an animatronic puppet thing, comes under, lifting her bed. And it was the creepiest thing. Ooh, man. It was a really effective moment, and it was like, oh, I don't want that to ever happen to me. It was, nothing like that occurred in the 6th or 7th one. The scare moments were much more comedic, and there's some really comedic moments in the 6th one. This one was played pretty straight, and they have this, like, carpenter bee or wasp that just ends up in one guy's ear, and they need to pour liquid in his ear to get it out and to kill it. It's because the dollhouse caused the bee to come to life. And then the little boy on the mother's side, his father had passed away. And he just wishes he could be with his father. Now, I don't think they ever flat out state that the father passed away, but that's definitely the implication because the father, like, dripping with gook and just nasty things, comes back and says, "You need to help me kill your stepfather," which was so messed up, so creepy. And he's busy in the backyard and he's digging a grave, and he tells his son that it is for the stepfather because he doesn't want his wife to forget him. Some really, really messed up stuff is going on in this movie. And the moments that they play for really creepy moments are genuinely creepy. Like, it's... I mean, as much as the only thing is the ending of the sixth one works better. Of the direct-to-DVD, the direct-to-video ones, which is 5 through 6, this is by far the best. And it seems to mimic the original film the closest, especially in the way that it ends, and how they just kind of escape. And there's reminiscences of the third film with the house burning down at the very end as well. Where does the movie fall? There's a couple of setup and payoffs that kind of never really go anywhere. The father has this sister who's kind of spiritual, kind of psychic. She feels things. And she says, she asks the little girl who is the dad's little girl, who received the dollhouse for her birthday, have you felt any kind of mysterious things? Have you seen crazy things? You should write them down. She says, okay, after she's seen all of these crazy things happen. Well, anyway, she starts to write them down, and then that plot point literally goes nowhere. That list is never given to her aunt who asked for it. So what was the whole point of even asking her to do that, story-wise, if that's never going to come into play? I mean, do you see what I mean? Yeah, it doesn't really... That's it. And honestly, just even asking her to write it down doesn't make sense. Why couldn't you just have had her on her own explore the dollhouse itself? Yeah? Make a lot more sense? Yes, it does. And the digging the grave for the father, for the stepfather, really creepy, really effective. Again, it goes nowhere. This literally decaying father decides that he wants to kill his son instead. It was a weird turn of events, and there's implications that this father was not perfect, that this father was abusive. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be a demonic version of it, or just the way that that father was and how she got out of it. We don't know. It's never stated. And, also, the house is making, the dollhouse is making these people do crazy, crazy things. Like, the stepmom finds her stepson extremely attractive. And there's several fantasy sequences of them, like, caressing each other and all of these other things. And you're like, what? I mean, it's reminiscent of the second film, but again, there is no payoff. It's just creepy. I mean, that's the biggest fault with this film is that it sets up a lot of these really creepy and creative ideas, especially in comparison to the other direct-to-DVD stuff, but it doesn't pay, like, any of it off. And that's a real shame. It is a real shame because it's hard to recommend a movie that doesn't have payoffs. Lots of great setup. Love the setup. Amazing. But it doesn't go anywhere. Yeah, so while it rejuvenated me, made me excited about the study again, especially after the 5th and 7th were so bad. The 8th one was actually pretty good. Am I excited for the 9th film, the remake? I've heard a lot of people talk some bad things about the remake. Personally, I kind of like Ryan Reynolds, who is the star of this remake. I will say I am intrigued by it, and I'm excited to get back to that house because I want to be inside the house. That's the thing that sold. And really, we've only been in the house full time for the first 3 theatrical movies. I'm excited that we're returning to theaters for this remake. And, yeah, hopefully I'll be able to watch the remake tomorrow night. And I will be able to give you my thoughts stepping into that tomorrow.